Hey there everyone, welcome to Samurai Cinema, and we're skipping forward a couple decades to check out a 1989 action-packed samurai thriller starring Sonny Chiba opposite of Ken Ogata. Another story set in the Edo period filled with action and political intrigue. Get ready to make the most dangerous trek to Edo yet, because we're reviewing Gekitotsu, or better known as Shogun's Shadow. I'm your host GojiraFerret. Let's begin. Shogun's Shadow, or also known as Shogun Iemitsu no Rashin Gekitotsu, or translated as Gekitotsu, The Insanity of Emperor Iemitsu, is a 1989 action drama written by Hiro Matsuda and Sadao Nakajima. The film would be produced by Toei Company, where it would be directed by Yasuo Furuhara, with Kiyoshi Kirisaka in charge of cinematography. The score is once again handled by, yes, you guessed it, Masaru Sato. The film would hire Ken Ogata as the protagonist Igo Gyobu, a former samurai turned mercenary, and Sonny Chiba as Iba Shoizamon, a dutiful retainer willing to serve his lord by any means. Sonny Chiba is a legendary name, not just in cinema, but in martial arts as well. His accomplishments include multiple black belts in 6 different martial arts styles, including Kendo, as well as an extensive filmography starting from 1961 to 2023. Such titles include one of my favorite films, Shogun Samurai, The Yagyu Clan Conspiracy, and for those not familiar with his early work, Kill Bill Volumes 1 and 2 as Hattori Hanzo. His work also hit the theater stage, as his last role would be in the Resident Evil play known as Biohazard the Stage. Sonny would also be responsible for directing all of the many fight scenes in this film while also acting. With a 1 hour and 45-minute runtime, Shogun's Shadow would use the spherical cinematographic process and printed on a 35mm film format. The movie would be released on January 14th, 1989, and distributed by Toei Company. It wouldn't see a US release, but would widely be available on DVD in the Sonny Chiba collection many years later. We open up with a shot of Shogun Tokugawa Iemitsu's son, Takachiyo, played by Ippai Shigeyama, who, at the age of 5, is the eldest of the Shogun's children and heir to Iemitsu's throne. While being cared for by his servants, an assault breaks out and many of Takachiyo's retainers are killed. Hope is lost as the attackers close in on the young heir, but a ronin working as a mercenary, Igo Gyobu, steps in with his band of mercs and successfully defends the young lord. A chief vassal of the shogun, Hoda Masamori, who you'll recognize as the madman Rokogu from Goyokin Tatsuru Tamba, meets with Gyobu. They are able to decipher that the attack was carried out by another chief vassal known as Abe Shigetsugu. The two agree on the circumstances, moments before Abe himself arrives. Abe is accompanied by his retainer Iba Shoizamon, who decides to attempt another attack on Takachiyo's life, but is scolded moments before drawing his sword by Abe himself. Hoda is told that Takachiyo is to travel to Edo for a ceremony, which is an obvious trap, but both Hoda and Gyobu agree, hoping that the shogun would hold Abe accountable. Back in Edo, it is revealed that the shogun is suffering from a terminal illness as he writhes in agony and pain. He is overseen by his servant and wife, Oman, who was previously the wife of Gyobu before she was taken forcibly to Edo. Iemitsu would be dramatically played by actor, singer, and guitarist Masaki Kiyomoto. Later that night, Takachiyo's convoy would be attacked while resting by Abe's soldiers, led by Shoizamon. After a lengthy battle, leaving many if not all of Takachiyo's retainers dead, Hoda confronts Shoizamon. Sadly, the defending vassal is struck down by his enemy, and Shoizamon uncovers that the young lord is not there. While Abe calls upon other clans to assist in the capture of Takachiyo and his security force, our hero, Gyobu, travels with the heir through the mountains. After traveling through the night, they are finally able to rest during the morning, where they come across a mining village. Scrambling to escape, Takachiyo, his servant Yajima, and one of the mercenaries are surrounded and captured by Abe's allies. Shoizamon is notified of their capture and begins traveling to the mine. During the night, the rest of Gyobu's crew sneak into the mine and, while being distracted, attack the guards. The group blow up a building and make their escape, but are confronted by Shoizamon. Both Gyobu and Shoizamon prepare to duel, but the sight of reinforcements cause the hero to retreat, knowing he's outmanned. After their escape by jumping off a cliff, the group rests from their ordeal, but before they can relax, they spot a large number of soldiers from the Furukawa clan approaching their position. Making a hasty retreat, they trek through the mountain snow and end up traversing a rope across a deadly canyon. The Furukawa forces arrive and are fended off by the remaining members in a dangerous escape. Night falls, and once again our heroes attempt to rest. It's realized by Yajima that Abe doesn't want Takachiyo dead, but is acting upon the orders of the shogun himself. They come to the conclusion that Iemitsu despises his eldest and wants the child killed, so his heir would be his favored son. With this information, and acting upon the decision of young Takachiyo, the group decide to continue to Edo to confront the shogun. The group commandeers horses from the Furukawa clan and begin riding striding towards their destination, but Furukawa forces are in close pursuit and a chase ensues. This is where Masaru takes a step back from the score, and the entire horse chase scene is accompanied by Japanese power metal in a song by the Alfie called You Get to Run. During this high-octane scene, one of Gyobo's men sacrifices himself with explosives, taking out a chunk of the enemy forces. Things become worse as more of Gyobo's men fall while defending Takachiyo. Man after man becomes overwhelmed by the large military, and after the bridge is destroyed, less than half of Gyobo's men remain. Gyobo and company enter a strangely deserted village and are surrounded by Abe and Furukawa soldiers, forcing the group to hide in a building full of lantern oil. Shoizamon arrives and asks Gyobo to surrender. The mercenary ponders his options, and after feigning giving up, challenges his rival to a duel. Shoizamon accepts, and the two engage in a lengthy and bloody duel that leaves Gyobo the victor. Shoizamon falls, but not after he praises his opponent for a well-executed victory. The enemy forces, realizing Gyobo now has the upper hand, attack, but the remaining mercenaries spring their trap and set fire to the oil in the building. This gives Gyobo a chance to escape with Takachiyo and Yajima. The remaining Gyobo mercs sacrifice themselves one by one, even going as far as one turning himself into the Human Torch and charging headlong into enemy ranks. This confuses and terrifies the soldiers, but what is even more terrifying is, okay, so if you like horses, you might want to skip about 10 seconds ahead. I'm giving you fair warning. 3, 2, 1. Alright. A flaming horse, for no reason, just explodes, killing anything in a 20-foot radius. I really don't get the exploding horse. Was it composed of nitroglycerin? Did they feed it some dynamite? Really making our heroes look more like villains here, turning a horse into a warhead. Maybe we've been rooting for the wrong ones the entire time. Anyways, Gyobo takes a bullet in his shoulder and is knocked off his horse. Takachiyo cries out for our hero. No, seriously. Why'd they have to explode the horse? Takachiyo cries out for our hero, but Gyobo, seeing the advancing forces, holds back, and he is last seen in a black and white still shot, leaving his fate ambiguous, but likely dead. Back in Edo, news of Takachiyo's arrival reaches the Shogun, who berates Abe for failing his mission. Abe begs the Shogun to stop his attempts on his son's life, for fear it may cause civil war with the ambitious Kishu clan. The Shogun, driven mad by his illness, refuses Abe's request, and calls upon his wife, Omon, to finish the deed. Omon attempts to poison Takachiyo, but is stopped by Yajima, who reveals that she was given a poison-bladed fan by her first husband, Gyobo. Distraught, Omon allows the young lord to live. Meanwhile, Abe denounces his shogun and his actions, believing that he has gone mad. The chief vassal leaves in anger as Takachiyo enters the room and confronts his father. In a fit of rage, Iemitsu attempts to cut his son down, but Yajima shields her lord with her body. In her last moments, Yajima drives the poisonous fan blade into Iemitsu's body as he finishes her off. Wounded and succumbing to the poison from the blade, Iemitsu is cursed by Omon, who laughs and relishes in the suffering of the cruel shogun. Iemitsu slowly and painfully dies, and Omon, laughing hysterically, leaves. Shortly afterwards, Takachiyo is made the next shogun, while Abe commits seppuku per the Bushido Code. The newly appointed shogun stands alone, holding Gyobo's headband, and reminisces about the men and women who accompanied him and died protecting him during his journey to Edo, his memories accompanied by a Japanese power ballad. Due to this film being predominantly in action, cinematography takes a back seat. Shots are framed well, and the list of sets is vast, from rainy wet hillsides to snowy mountaintops to a dusty abandoned village for the climax. Unlike older films, this film falls short of a 2-hour runtime, so not much time is given for large, fast shots of scenery. Cinematographer Kiyoshi Kitasaka understood the assignment and did what he had to do to supplement the action. Unfortunately, I would classify it as the weak point of this film, though it doesn't mean the cinematography itself is bad. Acting as well takes a backseat with cinematography, but what sets it ahead from its passenger is the actor Masaki Kiyomoto, who played Iemitsu Tokugawa. His exaggerated and dramatic actions and reactions are akin to watching a kabuki actor who has to perform drastic movements to convey emotions for the entire theater. His line deliveries are cold and cruel, and he fits the bill as some shogun driven mad by illness. The rest of the cast are in the average category, as their parts consist primarily of action scenes. Even the great Sonny Chiba wasn't given much for dialogue and relegated as a pursuing villain, but when Sonny was on screen, it was all him. Even without dialogue, his presence and demeanor speaks an entire script's worth of lines. Very few actors can really accomplish what he did in this film. What Sonny Chiba accomplished the most in this film, though, was directing action, which was the strongest part of the film. Unlike most films where action is either spread throughout the runtime or mostly pushed to the final half as a payoff, Shogun's Shadow gives the most amount of action in the beginning. This is a change-up because the last half an hour lets you take in the movie and see the aftermath of everyone's sacrifice. The action itself is intense, as the Foley came up with the awesome sounds of clashing katana blades and tearing fabric as someone was cut down. Blood is minimal, despite being given a couple amputations and one gruesome spear to the eye socket shot. Sadly, there are no blood fountains, but the choreography is top notch and one of the best I've seen. The final showdown between Gyobu and Shoizumon is amazing, a climactic payoff after we were blueballed early in the film with their last duel. Both combatants go from building to building, exploring the entire area, even ending up on the roof of a hut. Sonny obviously put a lot of thought and care into the action, and with that I can safely say it is the strongest aspect of this film. In the short moments between action, there is little dialogue. We usually will get a plan or some sort of revelation between characters. Not much time is allocated to dialogue scenes, save for the final 30 minutes. In those final minutes, dialogue is written and delivered well by the actors and actresses involved. If acting and cinematography were in the back seat and action was driving, the music would be the passenger. Masaru Sato gives us some awesome music, but it really takes off when the Alfie begin playing. Ultimately, it really comes out of nowhere, as the first hour is just Sato's work. Then during the horse chase, we're hit with power metal. It goes with the scene, but it does seem to stand out in the open. To be honest, context aside, it's a really awesome song. I recommend this film for the action schlock lovers. This movie lacks in acting and cinematography, but makes up for it in the end with well executed and choreographed fight scenes. The final duel is a great payoff, and I found myself entertained throughout the movie, but once the final 30 minutes hit, I was drained from the intensity of the first 3/4. Ken Ogata would be nominated for Best Actor by the Japanese Academy, as well as director Yasuo Furuhara for Best Director. Shogun Shadow gets high marks from me, and so does its action. That was Shogun Shadow, and I hope you enjoyed today's review. If you did, please give this video a like and comment down below on your thoughts about this film. If you'd like to see more content and stay up to date on new ones, give Samurai Cinema a subscribe. I'm GojiraFerret, and thank you for watching.